Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Aquaculture International Webinar 2021. You probably noticed the Aquafest 2021 have several contents, consists of a conference, competition, virtual expo, and many more of amazing contents. My name is Firta, and I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you. It is my pleasure to be a master of ceremony for this international webinar with the theme, natural needs for increasing the productivity of sustainable aquaculture. Natural feeds is very important in aquaculture industry. Aquafest 2021 have provided a place for us to have an interactive discussion with topic about managing and cultivating natural feeds for aquaculture industry. With this information, hopefully we can help fish farmers to generate a high quality nutrition of feeds so that the fish productivity in aquaculture can be increased. And today, we have amazing speakers with us to talking about this topic. The first speaker is going to be Mr. Francisco Lenzi, and the last one is Mr. Haris Muhammad. I am super excited to have you all here. Excited about all the amazing conversation that we're gonna have today. At this time, I would like to invite you to send a warm greeting to each other and type your excited feeling in the chat box. Alright, thank you so much for your response. I can feel your energy right now. We would like to say thank you to our sponsors to support this event. Thank you to Inve, Hikari, Hatch, and Bantex. And also, we would like to say thank you to our media partner collaboration. Thank you to KKP, Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries Republic of Indonesia, Humas IPB, Aquaculture Magazine, Aquaculture Tribe, Info Aquaculture, Trobos Aqua, Jagatani, Agrina, and Nakama Aquatic. Now, let us show you a video of Aquaculture Festival 2021.
Story of Inve Aquaculture, a story we call Care for Growth. As a pioneering company in aquaculture, Inve helps entrepreneurs across the globe to face the main challenge in fish and shrimp production: turn fragile life into solid growth. Together with the world population, the demand for seafood continues to grow. But today, while 70% of the Earth is covered with water, only 2% of the world's food supply comes from the ocean. Needless to say that aquaculture has a crucial role to play in the future of global food production. It's an enormous challenge to improve and intensify aquaculture business efforts around the world, but it also creates an ocean of opportunities. To support aquaculture businesses, Inve, Benchmark's Advanced Nutrition Division, has developed a hands-on approach that has been improving aquaculture for over 30 years. We develop, produce, and implement technological innovations that improve our clients' bottom line. What we develop are solutions and technologies for better results at every crucial stage of the culture cycle. From broodstock through hatchery to the grow-out stage, we provide balanced nutrition for your animals to stimulate reproduction and growth, solid health risk management to prevent low performance, disease and mortality, and optimized water and soil control so your animals can thrive in a secure culture environment. We do this based on 3 decades of scientific background, with labs and test centers in all major aquaculture markets. We produce these innovations ourselves, with full control from the intake of high-end raw materials up to worldwide distribution and delivery. To guarantee our product's benefits, we bring them right to our clients' doorsteps with a worldwide field team of technical advisors in over 27 countries. Being part of the global Benchmark network, we offer a complete package of nutrition, health and genetic solutions across all the major aquaculture markets, building a global community of people who do things right in aquaculture. The bottom line is, wherever we go in aquaculture, we share knowledge and dedication. Find out more about what we can do for you at inveaquaculture.com.
Alright, we would like to say thank you to Inve to be our sponsors and fully support this webinar, and also to all our sponsors to make this happen. Well, I just want to inform to all participants today that we have some prizes for 3 best questions of participants in the discussion session. So, don't forget to be active in our discussion. And before we go on to discussion with our speakers, we are pleased to have Muhammad Busdilataf to be our moderator for today. Here is the curriculum vitae of him. He currently studies in IPB University for master and doctoral degree since 2019 until now. In 2018, he was the best graduate of Fisheries and Marine Science faculty in IPB University. And also, he has so many experiences and publications regarding to aquaculture and fisheries science. He has some journal publications like Journal Riset Aquaculture and Journal Aquaculture Indonesia. And also, he had been an oral presenter for some international symposium and conference. And today, we have him with us to lead the discussion with our amazing speakers. I know for sure that you don't want to be kept waiting. So, without any further ado, let's get started. Tugusti, the stage is yours.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, all participants in this webinar, and also the honorable our speakers, Mr. Francesco Lenzi and team, and Mr. Haris Muhammad. Thank you for taking your time to attend this webinar. I am Muhammad Gustilatov from Aquaculture Department, IPB University, the moderator of today's webinar. I am very grateful to see all of you here in this great opportunity, and welcome to Aquaculture Festival 2021 webinar. Today's webinar is about the natural fit for increasing the productivity of sustainable aquaculture. We already have two excellent speakers for today. The first speaker is Mr. Francesco Lenzi from Technical Service Manager Artemia and Live Feed Test Center Global Inve Aquaculture, Italy. And also, our second speaker is Mr. Haris Muhammad from former sporting scientist in Department Ecophysiology and Aquaculture, the Leibniz Institute of Freshwater Ecology and Inland Fisheries, Berlin, Germany. Before we start our webinar, I would like to inform you about how this webinar will go. The first speaker will present the webinar material about Artemia culture in about 30 minutes. After that, the second speaker will present the webinar material about Daphnia and algae culture in about 40 minutes. After our both speakers finish delivering the material, it will continue to the discussion session for about 40 minutes. So, if you have a question to be asked, don't hesitate to convey either through directly or via chat box in the discussion session. Without further ado, I would like to continue to our speaker, but before, I would like to deliver the curriculum vitae of Mr. Lenzi. Mr. Francesco Lenzi was born in Livorno, February 16, 1969. He was graduated from Biological Sciences, specialization in marine biology and ecology obtained at the University of Pisa. Now, he is Technical Support Manager, Live Feed for Inve, and his specific research experiences is controlled reproduction of sea bass and sea bream with fry technology. He has so many experiences as a speaker in a various international events. And also, he has so many article publications, such as in the EAS special publication, Aquacultura in Toscana, European Aquaculture Society, and many more. Without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Lenzi to take the time and also the screen for the material. Thank you.
I can
Hello,
start to share my
Mr.
screen,
Lenzi?
right? Do you see my screen?
Yeah. Okay, take your time.
So good afternoon to everybody, and thanks so much for the invite that you sent to me, and it's really a pleasure. I'm so honored to have this opportunity to present the state of the Artemia use in aquaculture. And so thanks so much to the committee for the invitation. Thanks so much again. I think that this is a good opportunity to understand a little bit better what Artemia is in the aquaculture sector and why we use and need Artemia, and why it is so important today, and why it has been so important in the development of aquaculture in the past years. So what to say that Artemia is a small crustacean, so around 1 centimeter long, and has a very wide distribution in the world. so we can find Artemia in almost all the continents. And this is a very important fact that to see that we have also some different geographical differences in the Artemia. We find Artemia in the salty lakes, eternal salty lakes, normally are natural, or sometimes we can also find in some man-made salt ponds. What is important also to see and describe that Artemia has a particular, quite complex life cycle. So normally we have a part of the cycle of the reproduction that is called ovoviviparous reproduction. So it occurs when optimal natural conditions are present. So when in the lakes, in the nature, they find right amount of food, there is the right salinity, the right temperature, so the right natural conditions. It occurs normally in spring and summer. So in this period, Artemia in nature is reproducing, producing directly live naupi. While when we have particular conditions, so when the seasonality changed drastically, mainly in autumn, it depends, of course, the geographical position, but in general, it's autumn in all the countries that start the process of cyst production. It means that when suboptimal condition will occur, so decreasing of food, drastically changing of salinity, the Artemia protect itself to pass through the winter. So the Artemia produce the cyst, and the cysts are released in the water. And the releasing of the cyst, when of course this is massive, create this huge floating big biomass of Artemia that is then collected from the surface of the lakes. Of course, part of the cyst could also reach the side, the coast side, so we can also take from the sand, from the coast. But mainly the harvesting is from the floating cysts that are on the surface of the water. What is important to describe a little bit the biology, also to understand why we can use Artemia in such massive way for aquaculture. So the cysts stop the metabolism in this phase called diapause. That's very important to describe a little bit more this stage, because during the reproduction, at the gastrule stage, the reproduction is stopped in this dormant phase in which the embryos don't develop anymore until there are again the right condition for the development. And that's very important because in this diapause, the cysts cannot hatch. So just to summarize again, this is an adult of Artemia, and normally in summer season, they produce directly live naupi. But when there are, as I said, when there is a big change of the natural conditions, so salinity, food, and temperature, and normally it occurs in autumn, they release these cysts. These cysts are in this diapause stage that is called the quiescent stage or dormant. So they cannot hatch until the moment, I repeat again, that normally naturally in spring, the favorable condition, it appears again. So what is important to understand this diapause, because is a quite very strong stage of the Artemia that allow the harvesting, the cleaning the process of cleaning of artemia, that in which they are washed, they are disinfected, and then they are stored at a cold temperature around 4 or 5 degrees that allow the transportation and the shipment of artemia for worldwide from the harvesting place to all the hatcheries in different countries without to have any kind of damaging and with a quite longer shelf life, even years, if they are very well stored. So that's very important, this stage, because it's a very resistant stage that, if kept again in the right condition, can support a very strong stress of cold, heat, oxidation, and ultraviolet radiation. Of course, all these things, if we leave artemia, cyst of artemia in the sun or in the presence of humidity, it will decrease a lot the efficiency of the etching, but we will see after the point. It's very important because in this stage, when they are dried, they can be packaged and can be easily transported all over the world. And this is what you probably know. So the packaging in cans, different aluminum foil packaging, different dimensions of the packaging, but this is important. So from the lake, we can harvest and treat and package our cyst of artemia that is the main ingredients that we use in aquaculture. And why artemia is important in aquaculture, and that's the crucial point. So it's of course a natural resource, as we said. So it's important to know that we have to manage properly this artemia. So we cannot to harvest whatever we want. So every lake, mainly the lake in USA, so the Utah Lake from the Great Salt Lake is the most important source in the world, and it is strictly managed by the authorities. They allow to harvest until a certain moment in which the density is still enough. Then when they see that the density decreasing too low at a certain level, they stop the harvesting. So it's a very good way to manage and prevent that we reduce too much the resources for the year after. So that's why it's very important to understand that there is a limited resources, but if very well managed, there is no problem to keep available for the future, for the next years. But it's important to understand how to use this in the best way than possible. And I repeat, why it is important in the hatchery, shrimp or fish hatchery. It's important because the artemia is one of the first carrier, like can be for other live feed, can be rotifer or other copepods and so on, but the artemia is very much easy to be managed. There is a lot of that we can introduce for the production of artemia. And this is very important because fish or shrimp are opening their mouth, the gut, they ingest these live animals that contains a lot of teratrophic marine good marine bacteria, marine or of course in this case are from lake. But it's very important to understand that it's the first ingestion, first days in which they ingest this live feed, which they can stimulate with a lot of very good enzymes their digestive tract. So it's not effect of nutritional value. That's of course is important. It is a very important contribution for the of the digestive tract. For this, it's important to understand the difference of size, dimension, and also I can say quality from the just hatched live nuclei. So the instar one, first stage of the free swim artemia, and the instar 2, so the second stage from the instar 1. There is a difference in dimension. So of course, instar 1 has now the mouth already open, so they're filtering the water at the moment. You see also the round at the bottom part of the body. So develop the anus like in the instar 2, which is the instar that has the open mouth. So the artemia in instar 2 can already filter what is in the water, and they already have the digestive tract active. So difference in, and this is very important to underline, to understand, because if we can schematize a little bit the picture of before, like in a cartoon, we see different in size. And if we can summarize this picture in a geometrical representation, we see that the biomass in a sphere representation, we see that, of course, instar 1 is smaller than instar 2. What is important? Because if we weight our artemia when it's collected after together with the water, of course, the instar 2 will be has a higher weight, because it contains also a lot of water more. Not only the artemia, but also the water between the artemia that stick to the naupli. So if we take the wet weight, we see that the instar 2 weight more than the instar 1, but this is not the right evaluation criteria, because we have to consider the dry weight, so the real biomass that can be intake by our shrimp larvae or fish larvae. And we see that the instar 1 is around between 15 and 20% with more weight, so more energy, a more nutritional value than instar 2. So it's very important to consider this aspect, really important for nutritional and the quality of artemia that we are supplying to our PL or fish larvae. So it's very important to understand also the kinetics. So not only how many cysts I can get from 100 grams of food cyst, or number of naupli from 1 gram of cyst, that are the criteria for hatching percentage or efficiency. But it's very important to understand the kinetics of the hatching. So how is the progression during the hours? What is happening in my tank, in my water? So we can see, for example, this is an example of the great salt lake source. We see that around 22 hours, around 20 hours, we have mainly only instar 1, so the orange bars. When the timing is passing, almost all the instar 1 are moved to instar 2, so the light colored bar. As already said, if we take only the size, we see that the length is what we get in weight on the balance. Apparently, with instar 2, it's more. But if we consider the real dry weight value, again, around 15-20% of the weight of instar 1 is higher compared to the instar 2. This is the real and right criteria to evaluate also the moment in which we have to go to harvest to have the best artemia quality. To do that, we have to follow several steps. So first of all, we have to start from the beginning. So the water treatment and the artemia tank preparation. So if we don't start properly from the beginning, also the final result probably will be not the best one that we want. So after the hatching, we have to take care about very simple steps, but they are fundamental. So we have to remove all the things that we have in the tank. We have to rinse very well the tank walls from the hatched cyst. remove all the residual, we have to use soap to remove the organic part first, rinse again, and then after use a chlorine or blend solution to disinfect the tank. And after this, we can refill the tank with clean water, treat disinfected, but it's very important. My suggestion is always to add 10 ppm of active chlorine. Don't use the water immediately. So if we stock water and we leave for more than 1 hour, the risk is that this water can be colonized again by the opportunistic bacteria, and the risk is that the Vibrio bacteria colonize the water, and when we start our incubation of cysts, we start already with not the right condition, bacterial condition. So disinfection is crucial, it's very important. So of course now we can start to prepare our water, and our water should be at the right condition of temperature. We have to have the very optimal aeration. So normally the cylinder conical tank is small one, but of course there are many other kind of tanks, different shape, different height, but these recommendations are general, are always useful for each kind of tank. We should be sure that the microbiological, so I mean the quality of my water, as said before, is very good. So I have to be sure that I start with a very disinfected water. Try to use and work with the right quantity of cysts. So we have always to know how many cysts we use tanks, so we should know exactly the density. We should use the light properly, and we should start immediately with the right amount of light, so from the first moment. Then when we had the cyst in the tank, also we should consider properly the pH of the water, that should always remain between 8.5 for all the 24 hours of the etching process. I know that in many places, in many operational, this is not even considered, but it's a very important, crucial parameters to have efficiency, to make our final output the higher and good than possible. And this can be obtained easily adding a bicarbonate or sodium hydroxide in the proper amount. Normally we use under the 20 ppm of sodium hydroxide or 1 gram per liter of sodium bicarbonate. And this gives stability in pH during all the process. So I will underline again the focus point that allow to have a very good management of the Artemia process. So first of all, of course, the storage. We have to be sure that we keep all during all the transportation Artemia are stocked around the no more. I don't know what's up that. Okay, sorry. So the second very important point already said is the chemistry of the water. So the good quality, microbiological quality, the salinity, and the pH. The water temperature is really crucial. 28, 29 degrees are the optimal condition. We should never exceed 30 degrees because this reduces the efficiency of the etching. We should start always from the beginning, from the first moment we put the Artemia in the tank with at least 2000 lux. If we have more, it's even better, but at least 2000 lux are necessary. And the density, so the right density, if we take all these parameters in consideration, is 2 grams per liter is perfect to have the optimal etching, and we can maximize our output. So we see also here that the best salinity is around 25 ppt. We can work even with higher or lower salinity, but we have to control very well also all the other parameters. So recommendation to work with 25 is because it's the optimal salinity. So just a very briefly on how the cysts are etching. So they, after the hydration moment that it takes around an hour, a little bit more, the development of the enzymes and the activation of the enzymes inside the cyst create the starting of the division in the dormant stage that was the cyst, and this creates the right condition to for the etching. So after the umbrella stage that is still surrounded by the cyst, so the umbrella etched in the water, and after half an hour, 1 hour from the etching, the umbrella is transformed in the free swimming Naupli Instar-1. Very important, I repeat again, the pH level, because if you see the scale of pH from 2 to 10, we see that the optimal is around 8, 8.5. We should not exceed because we have a dead area. So here is too much, here is too low. Of course, should never go below 6. But if we work at the 7 or below 8, you see that the efficiency of the etching decreases drastically. So the pH has a very important effect on the activity of the enzymes that are inside the cyst, and they are responsible for the etching, the proper etching and the synchronous etching of the cyst. Many trials confirm in different conditions that we can increase up to 20% the etching efficiency just only adjusting the pH. Of course, also if the other parameters are controlled. Also, the temperature play a role in the etching, and mainly also in the speed of development and change from Instar-1 and Instar-2. So the blue is Instar-1 and the orange one is Instar-2. And we see that with time, but also with temperature, is play a role to speed up a lot the etching rate, and also the transition between Instar-1 and Instar-2. Another very crucial and very tricky parameter is the light. Is the light because this is simulating what is happening in nature in almost all the lakes. So the switching from winter to spring, so the day became longer and the intensity of the light is more strong. So we need at least 2000 lux surface, because just only a few centimeters below the surface, the intensity of the light decreases immediately very strongly. So the decrease of the light intensity is 1/4 at the double of the distance. So very important to have on the surface the maximum light that we can have. So having all these parameters, we now go very fast on how we use our Artemia. So in the past, in the early 70s, when the aquaculture industry developed, they had a lot of problem to separate cysts from the nuclei. So this procedure of remove of the external corion of the cyst, call it decapsulation, became very worldwide. It solved some problems, but it created other problems. So that the decapsulation is a procedure that has a quite high cost, is a risky procedure, need a skilled operator, and produce a lot of and very harmful gases and fume for the operators and also for the environment. And risky also because if you do this properly, you can damage easily the 5, 10, 15% of you bar your system you cannot use anymore. Because this process of decapsulation is guided by two parameters mainly, so the temperature and the pH. We must use sodium hydroxide solution together with chlorine, sodium hypochlorite. So the combination of these two chemicals maintain the right parameter close below the temperature 30 and the pH above 9. And in normally few minutes, you completely the chorion of the cyst, and you have the decapsulated cyst. But I repeat, it's quite tricky procedure, because also when you hatched your naupli, you have to clean from a lot of, well, mainly membranes that are floating on the top. So you have to remove it or use oxygen peroxide. So it's quite complex procedure, and is very intense for the workers and also for the environment, because a lot of chlorine is released in the environment, and this is something that we have to take in consideration. So due to these problems created by the decapsulation, INVE worked a lot to develop something that could be used in a very environmental friendly way. So developed this separate technology that coated some particles of iron on the external part of the cyst that permit to catch the cyst with some magnets, specific magnets. And we combine this separate technology with also a smart that allow the cyst to etch with a lower intensity of light and defense. That is a concept that has a vibro suppressor, so we can have also vibro-free cysts produced using this technology. Of course, if we use this technology not only for the shrimp, but also for the fish hatcheries, so we can enrich also nauplia. So mainly they start to be enriched with all the right nutrients and other specific lipids or vitamins and protein that we want to transfer to the fish. I know that for the shrimp market, the enrichment or short enrichment is very, very low applied, but we know that can be very useful also for the shrimp farm. So after all the things that has already been said, so tank preparation, so all the right parameters. Now we are at the process. So our cysts are hatched, so we have to harvest our cysts. And also during the harvesting, we can have some. So we made a lot of tests, and we collect a lot of data, and we use, for example, the old separator that INVE developed already 10 years ago with the new version of this HandyMag, and we compare with the double sieving technology to see the workload, timing, and also the output, so the quality of the output. So double sieving, the first net is to collect the cyst, and the second one is to collect the naupli. But we need a lot of water pressure to push the naupli through the net, and this poses a lot of problems. So you can see here picture the artemia under microscope, the activity using the separate technology and the double sieving technology technique. Sorry, you see a lot of dead naupli, a lot of cyst inside, damaged, broken piece of Napoli. So you see the completely different aspect of what you get at the end of the double process or after the use of the separate technology, because this technology is just only taking out the cyst and don't add anything on the Napoli. So with the double sieving, we all collect 30 or 50% less biomass compared with the separate technology. But what is also important, this biomass was then, a lot of Napoli were broken. So very dangerous to Napoli in our PL tank, because they go on the bottom, they are not eaten completely, and they can create the right substrate for the bacteria grow, so for the Vibrio bacteria grow. So I want to show you partly this new that are developed for the collection of separate that are called Andimag. So it's a system for small quantities up to 2-3 kilos of Artemia, so that can dip this directly into the fast now. So the system is for medium quantity, 10 kilos, and the automatic system is the automatic for higher quantity. So this system is a very easy system, faster, easy to be rinsed, and there is no chemical used for this. So this is the system, and I show you a very fast this video. And sorry. This is the video of the machine. Why the point doesn't move away. Sorry, but I don't understand what's happening to my computer. Yeah. I don't understand why the pointer doesn't move away. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, just very fast. Machine, just to show you how it works. So the automatic removal of the cyst. So the operator should not do almost anything, just open the valve and put etched cyst in the machine. So you see that cysts are trapped into the magnets, and now from this the water is washing out automatically the cyst. And of course, this machine is suitable for very high quantity of Artemia used. Empty cysts are moved out to the machine. So it's a very automatic and fast way to clean up the cysts. So I speed up a little bit the video. So we can see that at the end we can concentrate our cyst in the machine, and now please, sorry. And we can at the end easily, when we concentrate the amount, move the harvested Napoli with the automatic pump or with a bucket, whatever you want. We can transfer in a cold storage or move into the tank. So this is a very fast system to remove the cyst from the Napoli. And I want just to show you the last feature, because we have to be conscious that we have to work, and we can work properly during tank preparation, hatching, harvesting. We can do everything very well, but what is important is to maintain and keep properly the naupli that we collect. So what we suggest, this is the best way to manage the naupli harvested, is the cold storage. So you can keep alive without any risk of bacteria grow at 4 degrees, a very high density. If we use oxygen, we can go up to 20 million, but without oxygen, we can stock at 10 million per liter. Our naupli that can be maintained easily for 24 hours without any kind of mortality. And this is very useful for the daily management of the hatchery. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for Mr. Lenzi for the nice and very insightful presentation. Most of us is now about the Artemia, but most of us too don't know what is the important and how to manage the Artemia. So by this presentation, I hope any participant will know and have to don't show the mismanagement of the Artemia. And if any participant have a question, please be prepared for the discussion session. You can type in the chat box for the discussion session. Thank you very much, Mr. Lenzi. And yeah, please wait for the discussion session soon. agenda, Mr. Haris Muhammad will deliver Daphnia and algae culture. But before that, I also would like to deliver the curriculum vitae from Mr. Haris first. Haris Muhammad was born in Bandung, April 12, 1992, and his bachelor degree natural resources and more. Now, he is active as a member in the European Aquaculture Society. Without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Haris to take the time and also the screen. Okay, Mr. Haris?
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. First of all, I would like to thanks to Bogor Agricultural University Aquaculture Student Association for inviting me to be here. And I also want to thanks for everyone here from all over Indonesia, also for the sponsor, Inve, Hikari, and other sponsors. Thank you for having me here. This is such a honor to be one of your speakers in this international webinar, Aquaculture Festival 2021. So my name is Haris Muhammad, and today, basically, I just want to share my little knowledge and my previous research regarding live feeds. So today I'm going to give you a talk about how to improve the productivity of live feeds, microalgae, and Daphnia in sustaining aquaculture. Okay, let's start from introduction. So basically, yeah, availability of fry is often bottleneck in aquaculture, and most farm fish suffer high mortality during this early developmental stage. And if we want to be more specific, the highest mortality rate happens during the transition between endogenous nutrition to the exogenous feeding. So from when they have a yolk sac to the very first feeding of the larvae. And yeah, this is a very critical period that becomes a bottleneck in aquaculture. And this can be explained because during this time, the larvae experience a huge dramatical change in their life. And there are some conditions of the larvae, like the larvae are still develop their enzymatic and digestive system. Besides, the larvae are very small and they do have a very fragile body. And besides that, we have to also consider about their tiny mouth and also poor vision. So all of this problem become one of the major bottlenecks that preventing full commercialization of many farm fish. And yeah, fortunately, we have a live food here. And why is live food? Live food is essential because live food, whether Artemia that Mr. Francisco have explained, rotifers, Daphnia, and Moina, they contain adequate nutrient. It means it can provide maximum range for meeting all the requirements for the larvae. Besides, their size is suitable and match the small mode of larvae. And lastly, the color and movement, of course, better than artificial diets, and it can be better recognized and better contrast. But often in the field, when I was in Indonesia, often I found that a farmer cannot fully supply the sufficient amount of the live feed. And if they are relies on nature, we do have some problems is like inconsistent supply, and there will be also problems with elimination. Biosecurity. We can't really sure whether our culture contain whether our live feeds contain a pathogens if we catch it from the nature. And if the farmer is able to do a self-culture, there's still problems with their cultivation techniques. And yeah, furthermore, yeah, live feed also needs sufficient and good quality of the microalgae. So firstly, I will talk about microalgae, and we will continue to the live food. For microalgae here, basically microalgae, they play a central role, mainly as early food for, mainly as a food for mollusks and also bivalvia, and they're also early food for early larvae of crustaceans and fish. And there's also another role, for example, like by helping quality regulation via green water technique. For a green water technique, so this is a common practice fish and crustacean larvae culture, and have widely documented to improve larval growth, survival, and also feed ingestion compared to the clear water system without any microalgae addition. And here I want to highlight the positive effect of the microalgae in the green water system. So basically, they can improve whether direct and indirect nutrition of the larvae. Indirect means through the zooplankton enrichment, food for the other live feeds, Daphnia moina. They also have a role in improve water quality because they can perform nitrogen removal and also increase oxygenation rate. Besides, they do have a function in enhance the environmental condition for larva feeding because they enhance turbidity, shedding, and of course they provide visual contrast enhancement that makes larvae will be able easily to recognize live feeds because of better contrast with the green water. And lastly, they can also act as chemical stimulants, aiding in feeding behavior, digestion, and here now I would like to how to culture microalgae. At least there are 5 sterilization of a culture media, preparation of the growth media, inoculation of a microalgae, and multiplication of culture starters, and cultivation under optimization and harvesting. And here is for cultivation strategy. Basically, for the cultivation depends to the culture volume or the scale. For the lab, so the goal is to produce like a stock culture to multiply the culture starter for the next stage. For the intermediate stage, so this is the transition between a laboratory scale to the mass scale production. And lastly, for the mass production, so this is to produce sufficient of algae, and there will be different strategies in each stage. The different mainly in growth media, also for the sterilization process. And sterilization for laboratory, it's recommended to use autoclave 121 degrees Celsius. We use a heating treatment in order to sterilize the container, and also we can also do pasteurization if we can't afford autoclave. Besides, we can for the for the intermediate or mass scale production, what we can use is because we can't sterilize all of the water. What we can do is using a chemical sterilization by using a chlorine and followed by neutralization or dechlorinization. And yeah, we can also use UV light and also ozone. And before we talk about cultivation process, we have to know definitely about the algae parameter requirement. This is only, as disclaimer, this is only a broad generalization. So the optimized condition depends to the species specific and also strain. For example, here they need between 15 to 20 kilolux, temperature between 18 to 24, pH 7 to 8.2, aeration, they really need aeration because we need to homogenize the culture and also prevent sedimentation and also improve gas exchange. And for salinity, the optimum for a marine microalgae between 20 to 24. And here for microalgae cultivation laboratory, so the goal is to cultivate algae to limit the contaminants in this laboratory scale. And what we can do is by implementing the high degree of biosecurity. So in order to do that, we have to do it like indoor. We use artificial light for the cultivation process. And yeah, the other goals for cultivation of algae in this laboratory to make sure that the quality, we get a high quality algae from this laboratory cultivation. So we have to give them with a premix media. We'll explain later. And yeah, for this cultivation laboratory, we will go from a small scale, from agar, Erlenmeyer to small flux. And yeah, here the apparatus for microalgae cultivation. So definitely we need the aeration device. Yeah, we can get it from air pump and connected via silicon hose. And we can also, we need also air regulator in order to adjust the airflow. And also we can use air filter, filtration of the contaminants. And we definitely we use a transparent photobioreactor for containing the algae, and it must be transparent to allow penetration, to allow light penetration. And yeah, the lighting source we can use a LED lamp or a neon. Just the review of a microalgae culture in laboratory, from the agar into test tube to the Erlenmeyer and to 1 liter culture and to 10 liter culture. And it's suggested that during this laboratory, we have that temperature in this laboratory to lower like 9 degrees in order to avoid contamination. And for the culture stock, it's better to use lower light intensity, such as 1000 lux. And here now we will talk about the components of a microalgae growth media. So basically, the growth media for the microalgae consists of macronutrients from nitrate and phosphate, trace metals such as zinc, cobalt, and cuprum, vitamins like 12 or biotin, and silicate solution. And this is only for a diatom only, as they need to synthesize all. And here's just the example of the premise media. This is for laboratory scale. You need to give them with a premium media in order to facilitate the in order to get high quality nutrition of the algae. This is, Google it, like walnut and also Willard F2. It's a common, and this is uncommon suggestion that we can also use for spirulina. We can use a specialized media, Zaruk spirulina culture. And I will say in my experience to use this specialized media. And why is that? For example, for they need, they grow better in relatively basic pH level, in high pH. Of course, spirulina can also be cultured with premix media like walnut, but I will say it's better to to culture in this special media because somehow in this media they also contains some substances that can also pH level, so it will increase the growth of spirulina and also it will limit the growth of contaminants. And here we talk about the cultivation. Yeah, we have to about the growth curve of microalgae in order to formulate a strategy. Basically the growth curve of microalgae consists of from lake phases, exponential or exponential phases, stationary phase, and also the last. And during this lake or induction phase, this is only known because the algae are still adapting to the media, while exponential or log phase, they are already adapted to the media and the nutrients are still plenty, so they have a maximum growth. There will be also a declining growth rate because there will be a limiting factors, maybe nutrients, pH, CO2, and other physical chemical factors that begin limiting their growth. While for the limiting factor and growth rate are balanced, so they just there is a constant cell density. And while the dead phase, it means that the environmental factor or other limiting factor already makes the algae not capable to grow. And what are the strategy from this? So we use only a culture starter from log phase because they have a maximum growth rate. And how about like avoid to use it for your culture? Use only the exponentially. I mean, if you use this lake phase, you will just definitely get low growth, and there will be like and there will be wasting time. And when to harvest? Just beginning of stationary phase. Why is that? Because we will get a maximum number of biomass and also we get a high quality of nutrient. And if you try to, for example, harvest in the middle of stationary phase or in the end of stationary phase, there will be also a change in the nutrient content of the algae. For example, there will be, according to some literatures, the algae that harvested in the middle and in the end, there will be like a decrease in protein content and they will produce more carbohydrates, and that will also affect digestibility. And here, this is like the example of a growth curve of algae without lake phase. In the left one, we can see for chlorella, and in the right one for spirulina. As you can see here, there is no lake phase, and this is important as we can accomplish faster growth. And so now we move to the strategy for cultivation of microalgae in intermediate and mass scale production. For intermediate, we can't really sterilize the entire culture. We have to use a chemical sterilization methods. By using chlorine in order to achieve biosecurity, and we definitely do it indoor. And it's better to use a modified media and by using artificial light. The volume between 100 to 1 ton. While for mass production, I know it's very difficult to maintain our culture that to the contamination in the outdoor scenario. So what we can do is, of course, definitely you have to sterilize the water first, and filter the water first, and then transfer into the culture tank. And for the mass production, we use a modified or agricultural fertilizer. Because it will be very expensive if we use a laboratory grade. And here we will rely to the natural or direct sunlight. And the volume for the mass production, mostly more than 1 ton. Here's just the example, the commercial media for a mass microalgae culture. So this is the commercial media contains only the most essential nutrients that compose of agriculture or industrial grade fertilizers. And so the key is to make sure that the pH level of this cultivation media not too acid and not too basic. And yeah, the fertilizer will be dissolved properly before it delivered to tank. And then we definitely have to give the culture first with strong aeration or mixing for homogenization and also dissolving the substances. Here's the example of a spirulina culture that we have done from 1 liter to 10 liter, 100 liter, and to 1 ton. So we by using a Zaruk media for the laboratory, and for the higher scale we use the modified Zaruk. And this we use like intensity for 1000 lux, and photo period 24 in the laboratory. And now this is the upscaling process for the brown algae, the diatom set for shrimp hatchery. So we use from a cylinder from the small scale in the laboratory, then we intermediate by using a polyethylene and into the mass scale production. And the larvae can be harvested transferred into the shrimp larval tank. And we can also use instead of using biomass, we can also use a dry biomass, for example, as a feed additive, or for feed additive. And what we to harvest that, there are 3 harvesting methods of algae, whether it is flocculation, centrifugation, or filtration. For flocculation, we use chemical flocculants. This is a cheap methods, but because of we use chemicals, this will affect the biomass quality. While using filtration, this will result in high quality biomass. However, centrifuge is costly, and not all farmer can afford it. And for filtration, so I use this nylon screen for harvesting spirulina with 110 micron nylon screen. This is the example of harvesting of mass. So we did harvesting, and after that we get the dry biomass of spirulina biomass, and we try to grind them into spirulina meal. And here is the application of microalgae, of dried microalgae biomass as a feed additive. Here, as spirulina have a complete essential amino acids profile, also rich in vitamins, we can apply it for enhanced coloration in ornamental fish. The other microalgae biomass, we can also feed supplements, some algae that contains immunostimulant, and also improve the nutritional content of the feed by applying more essential amino acids and fatty acids from this algae-based feed additive. This is the micro culture that we had developed back then in this is spirulina and nanochloropsis culture. And this is spirulina farm project. So basically this is our sustainable development project back then in coastal area in Labuan, Banten in 2018, and it was a German alumni portal that collaborated with the AAD. So we provide training for the fishery, for the fishing communities in order to elevate their income by however, unfortunately, because the project is stopped half year later due to our facility got stuck, but got hit by a tsunami wave. And yeah, this is the quality management of microalgae culture. So what we can do, we have to observe parameters here from cell density, pH, odor, and also cell condition. For example, like cell content, cell shape, and also size. Besides, we can also monitor for bacterial count and also fibril count in order to make sure that our algae doesn't contain any pathogens. And it suggested that monitoring time is conducted same time each day. And here is the troubleshooting for microalgae culture. So during the cultivation process, we might encounter some problems like slow growth or low cell density of algae. And what we can do is by, of course, we have to evaluate our working procedure, whether we can maintain optimum culture condition or not. So yeah, we have to consider, we have to check our pH level and then aeration, and yeah, give them with proper nutrition. And if it still doesn't work, we can also just inoculate the higher volume of microalgae. And we can also encounter problems such as too many contaminants in the media. So the solution, of course, again, we have to improve the biosecurity. We have to make sure that we do a proper sterilization and hygiene. We have to maintain extended condition laboratory. For abnormal cell shape and size or low cell contents, what we can do is, this is probably related to the nutrition of the algae. I mean, it's probably algae lack of nutrition. So what we can do is by supplying the media with sufficient nutrients, and also boosts the nutrition, boosts the nutritional media with vitamins. And here the take-home message for microalgae culture. So it's the key to success for algae is to maintain algae culture in the exponential pace of growth. So whether it's in laboratory and intermediate and also in the mass scale production, we have to make sure that our algae start from the exponential pace. And of course, how to do that? By providing also optimum culture condition and also enough nutrition in order to get maximum grade, in order to get maximum growth. And besides, we have to maintain strict biosecurity in laboratory in order to control contaminants. And lastly, harvest the microalgae, especially reaching the initial of stationary phase. So in the start of stationary phase. And here, now we move to the Daphnia. So often I found that Artemia, Mr. Francisco, often Artemia is too expensive, a low value commodity, such as common carp, African catfish, and tilapia. And here, so Daphnia can be alternative for this species. And why is that? And this can be Daphnia can be cost effective in certain. And besides, they do have relatively high protein level and also a complete profile of essential amino acids. They do also contain self-autolysis, and means when they are digested by the larvae, I mean, they will self-destruct in the larval intestine. So this will also increase the digestibility of Daphnia. Besides, Daphnia have some other important characteristics. They are filter feeders. They can be enriched, for example, by using bakeries or algae. And also, they reproduce by sexual and asexual, but it's better to maintain your culture in asexual for faster growth, for faster growth and faster reproduction. And here the example of fish hatchery in one of hatcheries in Cianjur in West Java. So they need to produce 2 million of larvae each month. And how do they supply the larvae? So they install a Dapnia and Moina facility, and then for this Dapnia and Moina for the larvae of the tilapia. And so now we move to the cultivation methods of Dapnia. Basically, there are two cultivation methods, whether it's autotrophic or a detrital. Yeah, I will explain from the detrital. So detrital, this is the use of organic fertilizer by using soil and manure. And yeah, in my experience, it can generate a bigger harvest, and we can also get a self-reliance, means we don't have to feed, we don't have to give additional food like every day. But I mean, for this detrital system, I'll say there's a or over fertilization that can lead to the anoxic condition. Will definitely give high mortalities to Dapnia. And the other issue are they are not standardized, not reliable due to many impurities. And how about the security? Yeah, we can't really sure that yeah the poultry manure that we give to the Dapnia contain pathogens or not. So personally, I prefer to use the autotrophic method by using a green water culture, and we can also achieve more control by using a monoculture. And yeah, of course, this culture also can be, and we can also supplement it with rice bran or baked. And yeah, this is the example of the Dapnia and Moina that I've cultured with this autotrophic and detrital methods. So as you can see here in the autotrophic, yeah, green is the Dapnia. This means intestine filled with algae, and while for detrital, there's a brownish, and it means is intestine filled with a bacteria and also detritus. Now we move to the Dapnia cultivation steps. So 5 steps from culture tank preparation, pond fertilization, inoculation of Dapnia culture starter, and then Dapnia cultivation under optimum condition, and lastly biomanifesting. Here now we move to the culture. As you can see, of course, you have to do tank cleaning, to clean the tank and also rinse them. And after that, you have to setting up the aeration. And of course, I know that it's possible to it's difficult to make biosecurity in outdoor scenario, but we have to put many measures into that. Yeah, by what we can do is, of course, filtering the water that will enter our culture tanks. And for the water source, we can use a groundwater, but the metals content need to be checked. We can also use river water, but there are some issues like many contaminants from this river water. And how about the tap water? Yeah, just consider, yeah, we have to make sure that chlorine content won't harm our Dapnia, and also considering about the price per cubic. And here, now we move to the step of pond fertilization. So basically for pond fertilization, we can apply the knowledge of how to culture microalgae in mass scale into this practice for this pond fertilization. And here there are some formula that I have collected. Yeah, you can use a mix or a monoculture microalgae. And so basically after, yeah, the fertilizer should be dissolved first before it delivered to the tank, and strong aeration need for homogenizing and dissolving the substance. And yeah, before we move to the cultivation, we have to know definitely about the recommended culture condition of Dapnia. Yeah, we have to maintain the temperature in optimum 25 pH between 7 to 8, and considering to add some limestone if the pH too low. And of course, dissolved oxygen level. Make sure don't overfed apnea. If you overfed apnea, of course, the dissolved oxygen will be lower, and it will harm and lethal to apnea. And yeah, ammonia and also algae density. We need to use 100,000 to 1 million cell per mil in order to support a apnea population. And here for Dapnia cultivation, yeah, we before inoculation of the Dapnia of culture starter of Dapnia, we have to make sure that the water already biologically mature, and it can be seen from the algae density from 100,000 to 1 million cell per mil. And yeah, you have to adjust the aeration, make it provide mild aeration, not too strong, because strong current will also harm. And then yeah, do inoculation process 20 individual per liter. I think it's enough. Also, yeah, you have to. I mean, this is just for me, but I mean, in my suggestion, it's better to enrich Dapnia. Yeah, you can also enrich by addition of bakeries, 6 gram per meter cubic. It's also enough. And how about the harvesting? To harvest, so basically we have to do regular sampling of population density in order to monitor the Dapnia population. But I will say it's yeah, you at least you have to wait for a week, or I mean 2 weeks is better. And yeah, whether you do it a partial harvest or full I would say it's better to do it partial harvest, because it can potentially yield higher biomass. And how many harvests that we can take for partial harvest? It's 30% of estimated full harvest. And yeah, we can also do selective by targeting, for example, only the adult Dapnia, or because we can use this as a potential broodstock that can inoculate, or we can also fit them into the ornamental fish. And here during the cultivation process, we might encounter problems. So there will be a problems like a slow population growth of Dapnia. And what we can do is, of course, we have to our working procedure, whether we do maintain optimum culture condition or not. And yeah, if still doesn't work, yeah, I mean, we can also inoculate the higher number of Dapnia. For overfertilization problems, if it's result in low DO, yeah, the solution can be by using by lowering the dosage of fertilizer, and also increase aeration, or just do a water exchange. During the cultivation process, we might also encounter problems such as contaminants or competitors. And of course, the solution by improved biosecurity, we have to do proper cleaning, filtering the water, and that's definitely needed in order to avoid the number of contaminants. And while for the problems with predator, what we can do is just manually remove the predators. And here's the example of contaminants and predators like rotifers or brachyonus, copepods, and other planktons. While predators, it can be, I mean, if, for example, in river water, the river water might broke the eggs of river shrimp, and so we have to consider remove it. And yeah, there will be also problems with insect larvae, such as dragonfish larvae, chowbird larvae, and also back swimmer. And here, as a take-home message for a Dapnia culture, yeah, definitely you have to provide optimum culture condition, yeah, in order to maximize Dapnia growth. Avoid overfed and overfertilization in order to prevent a culture crash, and have many backup cultures. as possible, because this is as insurance if your culture failed, then but you still have a spare. And yeah, use a scaling up culture production means from smaller tanks to the bigger tanks. And besides, yeah, you have to also do regular monitoring of Dapnia contaminants and predator. And lastly, what I can suggest is conduct a partial harvest to get the higher yield of harvest. And here I just want to share about my previous research of spirulina cultivation. And here for spirulina, so we use this spirulina and Dapnia dry biomass for making artificial diets for a common cut fry. And so in order to do that, we have to make the Dapnia meal. So yeah, we did the pond fertilization and Dapnia magna production that I've using autotrophic methods. After that, we harvest them, we dry them, and yeah, after we dry, we get the dry biomass, and then we try to bring into Dapnia meal. And yeah, for spirulina meal, firstly, we did activation of spirulina culture in order to get the exponentially growing culture. And after that, we do upscaling process in order to multiply the inoculum. After that, we did harvesting, and we get a wet biomass, and then we dry them by using oven, and also we get the spirulina meal. And here's the nutritional properties of spirulina and Dapnia that we have culture. So we get 69% of spirulina, 69% of protein in spirulina, and it's actually match the literature from FAO between 55 and 70. And yeah, while for Dapnia, we get relatively higher protein level and also higher lipid content of Dapnia than the literature. This probably can be explained due to the algae and bakeries that we have given to the Dapnia culture. While for essential amino acid profile of the spirulina and Dapnia, I mean, in overall, as you can see, the diet requirement for overall, the spirulina and Dapnia meet the essential amino acid profile for the common carp larvae. Furthermore, the most important, the methionine and also lysine, which can be limiting in the feed, also sufficient. And here about the essential fatty acid profile of the spirulina and Dapnia that we have culture. For spirulina, there's not much essential fatty acid here, but for Dapnia, yeah, at least they do contain omega-6 and omega-6 and omega-3, sorry. Although it's not in the high level, but it's it's still good enough. And lastly, so after we made the spirulina and Dapnia meal, and then we tried to do experiment. So we made artificial diets based on the inclusion of spirulina and Dapnia biomass. For example, 2% and 5%, 2% and 7%, 4% and 5%. And after that, we did a feeding trial. Feeding trial in common carp fry. And then we use also a commercial feed such as high profit as a control. And in the end, we get the highest we get the relatively highest survival rate from 2% of spirulina and 7% Dapnia. And all of these experimental diets got the higher survival rate than the survival rate of the control. And here's the reference of my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. my presentation. Terima kasih and vielen Dank.
Yeah. Thank you for Mr. Haris for the nice and very insightful presentation. Okay, for all the participants, now it's our time to discussion session. So if you have a question, please type in the chat box and don't forget to tell who the question addressed. Okay, I also invite Mr. Lenzi to join with us. And I have the list from participants that sent a question. The first is from Giovanni. Good afternoon, sir. My name is Giovanni from Maranatha Christian University. I want to ask something. Is it possible that the use of Artemia has a negative impact of the sustainability of fish development, and how much benefit will arise from the use of Artemia on the import dependence that arise in fishery developing countries, especially in Indonesia? This question to Mr. Lenzi.
Thanks for the question. What I think is that there are many possible sources of live feed sport, like we saw now, Daphnia. There are many other things. It depends by the size. But we have to understand that if we want to achieve quantity, stability, predictability, many of the other sorts of live feed cannot today support massive aquaculture. So use of Artemia is still necessary to support the aquaculture sector, even in the developing countries, because we know that there is a predictable production coming from the Artemia. We have to maximize more than possible and optimize the. We know very well today, I'm in contact with all the countries in the world. There are countries that are throwing away, really throwing away 30% of the Artemia that they buy. So the system of production is efficient. Most of the problem is not the, but how we use Artemia, how we hatch, and how we manage. So many people say it's expensive also because they realize that they don't use in a proper way, in an efficient way. So effort today should be to help also develop, mainly them, because they are starting. So we have space to start and to help them to start the proper way to produce and to hatch and harvest. So we know that managing also the sources, so for example, in Great Salt Lake, there are other sources, restricting and monitoring the source, so harvest whatever we want. But we know that today, with the harvesting of around 3,500 tons a year, we can support all the needs of aquaculture. To think that with this amount, we can grow even up to the double, because we can reduce the Artemia, because we can maximize what we hands. So I think also in Indonesia, all the other countries are at the same level. So there is not today, we didn't reach today the optimal standard of culture, of managing. So also for the emerging species, we have to optimize the culture technology, the protocols, because the protocols for the larvae production are not in many cases optimized. So we use a lot of resources, a lot of energies, a lot of workload but not in a proper way, not in an efficient way. So this is, I think, our target for the future for Artemia, of course, first, but also for the rest of the protocol. Try to get the protocol more efficient at the end. So cheaper and easy to be used.
Okay, thank you for the answer. And also for Mr. Lenzi, the second question comes from Dimas. The question is, what is Artemia shell dangerous for betta fish?
Artemia shell dangerous?
Yeah, is the Artemia shell dangerous for betta fish?
Okay, the shells normally should be not in the larvae tank because they are difficult to be digested. So for sure, this is the way why we remove the shell from the naupli. So first of all, they can create problem of digestion. Yes, they can be also a source of bacteria grow. So if they are not eaten by the fish, but they go on the bottom of the tank, they create substrate for bacteria. So of course we have to remove cyst, and that's why we developed that system to make this removal efficient at 100%. That's the point for sure. So yes, the answer.
Okay, thank you. And the third question for Mr. Lenzi comes from Maulidia. Hello, I am from Aqualife Indonesia. Here is my question. There is so many origin Artemia like from Russia, China, and USA, Great Salt Lake. Which one better and why?
What we can say that from Great Salt Lake source is one source is very well monitored by the authorities, and all the lake is completely under control from already 20-25 years. The other sources are normally a mix of different lakes. Not always it's very clear from where they are coming from. Many lakes are repeat, so it's more difficult to understand where the cysts that are not coming from the Great Salt are from, and this means that is not so easy to understand. Also the quality and the biosecurity of some sources. Sometimes it's not always like that, but just to say that the Great Salt Lake source is the most monitored, the most more I don't want to say secure because it's a big word, but anyway, more controlled for sure.
Yeah, thank you for the answer, Mr. Lenzi. And we move to the question for Mr. Haris. The first question is from Anissa Nisfi Syahrini for Mr. Haris. Good afternoon, sir. My name is Anissa from SMA YP Unila Bandar Lampung. I want to ask something. How much benefit will arise from the use of Artemia on the import defense? Oh, I think this is for Mr. Lenzi. Sorry. The question for Mr. Haris is, the first question is from Teguh. The question is, sometimes we have more algae in the mesh culture. Are dry algae or pasta same effective as live feed, like live algae? Yeah.
Hello. Depends to the for the purpose of the cultivation process. I mean, if you want to deliver the algae, I would say it's better. I mean, definitely the highest nutrient will be in their live biomass, I mean, but I mean there will be some issues with, of course, with live biomass. For example, if you want to store them, you can't store them. But I mean, the nutrient the highest nutrient quality definitely in the live biomass. And besides, if we want to deliver it into the fish larva that they already quite big enough, they don't eat alga again, and then so we can also put it and do inclusion in these artificial diets in order to make sure that this fish can still get nutrition from the algae. Because if we deliver the algae, I mean, in live condition in wet biomass, some fish are not filter feeder. I mean, they don't consume. They don't consume algae. They do consume of the artificial diet. So this is just, I mean, if you want to apply, for example, we want to make that the special content of the spirulina, the amino acid, the essential amino acid from spirulina, the complete profile of amino acid in spirulina into the fish, you have to deliver it in as the dry biomass. Because if we just give them the live algae, the fish probably won't consume.
The answer. The second question for Mr. Haris comes from Aitina Rosintan. Yeah, the question is there any technology to culture the microalgae for small fish cultivator? Please.
For small fish cultivator, I'll say in Indonesia nowadays, if you just searching online, there will be a lot of algae cultivation media that you can just buy it. I mean, you can just buy it in maybe Tokopedia or Bukalapak or anything. Yeah, I mean, in order to get this kind of algae, and then I'll say it's because you can't really, I mean, by yourself, but you cannot maintain the sterilization. So what we can do is just, for example, use the mineral water, and then after that you try to do pasteurization by heating it. And then after that wait until it's cold enough, and then put the live algae. I mean, microalgae culture you can from the freshwater research center. I'll say there will be many freshwater aquaculture research center in Indonesia, and you can also get the algae from them. And yeah, I'll say it's possible to culture by yourself. And then so for the sterilization of the water, I mean, if you want to move to the higher scale, for example, in 10 liter culture, you can also sterilize the water by using chlorine. This is also easy. And after that, you can also use the natrium thiosulfate in order to neutralize the chlorine. And then during this time, you have to put the strong aeration in order to make sure that you sterilize the entire culture. Yeah, and then just use the artificial light. I'll say so. It's still. I mean, you can do it by yourself. Even in my facility back then, I mean, we don't have autoclave, so instead we use the chemical sterilization methods by using chlorines or Baclean. Yeah, you can also use that, but it has to be followed by a neutralization process. So definitely, I mean, it's possible to culture by yourself. It's just a matter of creativity.
Okay, thank you for the answer. And I will back to Mr. Lenzi. There is a question from Janu Jambi, to Mr. Lenzi. Good afternoon, Mr. Lenzi. I want to ask for advice how to keep Artemia alive longer in the rearing of freshwater fish larvae without disturbing the larval life media, and which is better, hatching by the usual method or decapsulation, especially from the lifespan of Artemia in freshwater fish larval rearing media? Thank you.
Not so sure that I understood completely well. They ask how to keep longer life Artemia hatched.
Yeah.
So after the etching of Artemia, the best practical way to keep live Napoli is to store them in a cold storage system. So in a very well refrigerated system, 4-5 degrees. The water should be 4-5 degrees. So sometimes we saw people that stock with aeration in a fridge. But if you take out from the harvesting tanker, you normally work at 24, 25, 26 degrees, and to down the water just in the fridge, you take hours. So normally we suggest to use or a special refrigerator system like the ones used to keep milk, the milk industry. And you can keep in the right condition easily up to 24 hours live Napoli without mortality, if of course everything is controlled. So this is a very good way to have only one harvest per day, and you can use all the amount harvested, for example, in the morning for the rest of the day, and you keep alive your Napoli, just to adapt a little bit at the water temperature, culture water temperature, because you are coming from 4 to maybe 25, 26. So few minutes of adaptation, so now we can swim again very well, and then you can release in the tank. Also for the fresh water, no problem to hatch at lower maybe salinity and to use in fresh water. Artemia is a very high to the salinity, so they are not damaged or affected by the very drastic change of salinity if used in freshwater medium.
And which is better, hatching by the usual method or with the decapsulation?
As I said in my presentation, what control very well the parameter of hatching. So even for the encapsulated normal cyst, you have to keep the best optimal quality and parameters. So light, pH, temperature. So it's the same if you use decapsulated or not decapsulated. If you use decapsulated, you have the risk, if you don't control perfectly the decapsulation problem, to destroy part of your cysts. You are using a lot of chemicals that can also be very harmful for the people, because I saw many times people are doing decapsulation without to use gloves, without to use a mask, and you release a lot of chemicals in the environment. Also country that are not allowed anymore to do decapsulation because it's very dangerous for the environment. So for sure, for all these questions is, if it's possible, of course, to switch from decapsulation to a normal way to incubate Artemia and try to remove cyst with if possible, with a new technology that it's easy and friendly and less workload compared to the also decapsulation that takes a lot of time.
Thank you for the answer. And I will back to Mr. Haris again. There is a question from Variana Banyu. The question is, as we know that natural live feed are very important in forming bodies and immune of fish larvae, then which are the easiest microalgae or Daphnia to cultivate it so it can adapt it by public to produce natural live feed by themselves for aquaculture in small-scale hatchery? Haris?
Sorry. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, for a small scale or for the beginners algae cultivation, I would say the easiest one is chlorella. Yeah, this is the I've mentioned, give you the formula and also the slides. I mean, in the slide formula for cultivation of the microalgae, and yeah, the easiest way is by using NPK fertilizers. Yeah, this is, but this, I mean, this is not for, this is only for the intermediate and mass scale scare. Yeah, but I will say by using this media, by using this NPK formula, this is already enough for a cultivation of the chlorella, and such easy species to be cultured, and they do have a high protein. So this is maybe good for the beginner and also for the fish.
That's enough? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for the answer. And the next question is also for Mr. Haris from Giovanni from Maranatha Christian University. I want to ask something. Will the productivity of microalgae and Daphnia cultivation have a lot of positive and negative effects on the development of fisheries in Indonesia? And does this productivity lead to development in other fields such as business, economic, and others? Thank you.
This is interesting questions. I will, if you can manage to cultivate micro by yourself, I mean, do it in proper way, and even the fish hobbies can also cultivate by themselves. There will definitely positive effects to this. Because we use Daphnia and algae from the local strain, it won't affect to the environment. And I'll say if we can, I mean, as Indonesia is the third largest aquaculture producer, and the trend is going higher, I will say in the future, we have higher demands for the this live food. How to produce a larvae without live foods, and as the use of this Daphnia and algae will definitely be for improving this sector, and also maybe the other sector. Yeah, there are some cosmetic, or maybe use they use the spirulina as the base for to increasing the vitamin and supplement. This is also good. So for microalgae, I would say there's definitely also other impact in the other industries. Yeah, the cosmetic and supplements. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the answer, Mr. Haris. And we will back to Mr. Lenzi for the next question. This question is from Nihlah Kadila from Ocean University of China. The question is the feeding method of Daphne... No, I think this is for Mr. Haris. And for Mr. Lenzi, the question is from Nur MG. The question is, aquaculture is very dependent on Artemia, who's very limited and must be imported to Indonesia. It is possible that there will be extinction of Artemia stock in nature. Any comments how to anticipate it? Thank you.
So thanks for the question, because it's coming very frequently to this one. But we saw that the harvesting of Artemia, even if seasonal, I mean, affected by seasonal parameters, we saw that in the last 10 years has been very well stabilized for the reason that I said before. So especially in Great Salt Lake source, it is very well monitored. So there is an authority that is controlling with a very high accuracy the density of the cysts that are released in the lake, and they stop with a quite high level of safety the harvest before then this limit is going down. And I repeat, today we are harvesting around 3,500 tons per year of Artemia globally from different sources. And we know that this amount today, we have a large stock today, not used. So seems that can be also, I just give you an example. It's like other sources that, like the petrol, look limited 30 years ago. And now we make our cars more efficient than before. Before, with 1 liter, we made 10 kilometers. Now, today with 1 liter, we are doing the double. So it's what we have to do with Artemia. Today, I repeat, my more important thought is we don't use properly the Artemia that we have. So we throw away. There are studies that are demonstrating that for the very bad way to manage the Artemia, the hatching condition, we really throw away because they don't hatch a lot of Artemia because we are not following the basic indication that I illustrated in my presentation. So for sure, it's a limited results, but if we manage and we improve also our standard in production, we realize that Artemia can be used for the future with in a very sustainable way.
Thank you for the answer. And the next question also for Mr. Lenzi from Eunice. Good afternoon, sir. My name is Eunice. I want to ask what factors will affect Artemia can survive and grow well? Will the Artemia cultivation business have a big impact during this pandemic? Thank you.
I would say that the parameters that are mostly the hatching of Artemia. So I mean in the hatcheries. So what we produce in the hatchery, I see that the most important are the temperature, the light, and the pH. So if we don't take in consideration very carefully these parameters, we are not producing the right Artemia. So the hatching will be not synchronous. We will have a very delay of the hatching for some of the, and this is very important, I repeat, to take about this parameter, because I don't know, it's like if we prepare a dish and we don't take care about the cooking temperature, or we don't put the right salt inside, or the other ingredients. So at the end, the final dish will be not good for Artemia. So simple things we have to follow, not difficult. Take care about that, our output will be not optimal. And in terms of pandemic, of course, no due for harvesting and things like that. For shipment, production of Artemia has been, because hatcheries has been affected. So of shrimp and fish all over the world has been reduced, and of course also the consumption of Artemia, like all the other feed for aquaculture, has been decrease this pandemic, but not specifically the Artemia.
Thank you, Mr. Lenzi, and we back to Mr. Haris. Still, there is a question from Nihlah Khadilah from Ocean University of China. The question is the feeding method of Daphnia with a mixture of dry algae powder, for examples using spirulina, and yes, acceptable for culturing Daphnia? Can it boost the fast growth of Daphnia?
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, if you use the dry biomass, the dry algae biomass for the Daphnia culture, yeah, because nurserants and they are filter feeders, means they can this powder. I will say I've never experienced the cultivation process of Daphnia using the dry biomass of microalgae. But I mean, according to some literature, maybe the nutritional content, it's definitely the best is in the live condition for microalgae. And while for the of this Daphnia by using I use enrichment method by using bakeries for this Daphnia, and that's definitely if you see the literature and also my previous presentation, there was a comparison between Daphnia protein and according to my production method and from the literature. And yeah, we get the higher protein and even lipid content, and we do have some essential fatty acid. And this is because we use bakeries, and that's the algae. We use a chlorella in order to get this. But we use the live chlorella, not the dry biomass one for cultivation of Daphnia. I would say for cultivation of Daphnia, it's better to just provide them with the live algae. That's my explanation.
Thank you. And next question to Mr. Haris from Risnawati Kasih. The question is, beside of the advantages of microalgae, did microalgae have a disadvantage in aquaculture?
Okay. Basically, I mean, there are some. I have heard some journal and some articles that mention that there is like association of Vibrio and microalgae. So yeah, this is basically quite dangerous for shrimp and for shrimp and fish culture. So that's why I suggest that you have to culture it by yourself, and after you culture it, you can also make sure the pathogen content of the algae culture by monitoring, by using media for to calculate the Vibrio and bacterial number from the algae culture. So it's suggested to do that. Yeah, I think this the disadvantage of the algae culture, because sometimes it can associate with also pathogens. But I mean, you can of course you can definitely make sure that your algae doesn't contain any pathogens, but by culturing it in the laboratory way, in the controlled condition, culture it in oxenic condition. Yeah, that's my explanation.
Thank you for Mr. Haris. And we still have one question for Mr. Lenzi. This question from Muhammad Fahri Abdullah. I am Muhammad Fahri from Raja Ali Haji Maritim University. I want to ask, why does the hatchery have to be round and shape the bottom of the funnel? And why does Artemia harvesting at night need to illuminate the bottom of the container?
Why the etching at the night to be illuminated?
Yeah.
Is it the question? So we know that light is one of the most trigger for the starting activate the enzymes of the. So if we don't use light just at the beginning, from the first hour after incubation, we lose this activation. And this activity should be maintained for at least 16, 18 hours up to the end of the hatching, combined with also the pH. So once the enzymes are activated for the hatching, we have to keep them properly active with the right pH. So light is very important. It's very tricky, especially at the beginning. So we should never start the hatching in a dark condition. So it's not enough to have the sunlight for 12 hours or during the day and the night have no light. So this is a way to have a very poor hatching efficiency and to lose easily 15-20% of your cyst, at least, even more probably if you have used dark in the night. And could you also repeat the question on the bottom of the tank, because it was not very clear.
Wait.
Sorry.
Why does the hatchery have to be round and shape the bottom of the funnel?
Shape the bottom of the
funnel.
I think it's related to your container, to the container for Artemia.
So the hatching tank, I mean, not clear the
hatching tank.
questions. The hatching tank.
Yeah, it's probably.
So the shape of the tank, it tells the hydrology. So the fact that you use the right shape, so cylindrical tank is the best one, because with the aeration in the center of the tank at the bottom, you can ensure that all the cysts are moved in the best way, and they can reach the top of the surface of the water to be in touch with the light. And more this movement is ensured, so more frequent is the contact surface and better it is the etching. So the cylinder conical tank for the shape for the hydrology is the most it's the suggested one. Of course, you can use many other tanks, and you can optimize with also other tanks the hydrology. It's a little bit more difficult. You need probably more aeration sources, but we can do even with the other tanks. Of course, doesn't mean that we have to use only cylinder conical tanks.
Thank you for the answer. And now we are in the end of a discussion session. But if the participants still have a question to ask, please contact the speaker directly, or you can have a discussion session in another opportunity. Okay, before we end our webinar session, I would like to invite the speaker to give a closing statement of this webinar. For the first, please, Mr. Lenzi, to deliver the closing statement of this webinar. Please.
Thanks again for this opportunity, because I think it's been very interesting also to receive the questions. So it's also for us very important to have these opportunities to knowledge, to share questions, to understand better and more how we can improve and to help the agriculture sector to grow and to fit the needs of the aquaculture sector. So thanks so much for the questions, for the opportunity. I hope that this discussion has been useful for the attendees, and I hope it has been interesting and clear. So again, thanks so much from my side for this opportunity, and I hope that will be the first of other, opportunity to meet colleagues and operators of aquaculture. So thanks again.
You're welcome, Mr. Lenzi. And also, I would like to invite Mr. Haris to deliver the closing statement of this webinar.
Okay. Lastly, I just want to thank you for the every audience here, and also for Bogor Agriculture University Aquaculture Student Association, and also for the sponsors, INVE, Hikari. And here I just want to give you encouragement. So based on the FAO, as you know, Indonesia is the third largest aquaculture producer after China and India this time, and the trend is going higher. So, and then in order to produce the massive and enormous number of fish, of course, there will be a lot of opportunities and demands to supply this enough fish to feed this fish. So be optimists and do not give up. I know that Indonesia undergo hard times because of this COVID-19, and that also impacts many sectors. But please always have faith that God will help us, and be positive, and always learning something new, learn new knowledge and technology to make Indonesian aquaculture more sustainable. And especially for the young and the students here, as not all people have a chance to continue their studies. So if you have a chance, take it seriously. And I'm certain that we are more capable than that. Thank you.
Thank you for Mr. Haris for closing statement. Okay, thank you for Mr. Lenzi and Mr. Haris for your time. Very, very interesting and great discussion this afternoon. I hope we can meet again in another opportunities. And also, I would like to thank you all for all interactive participants, and I hope we get a new insight and knowledge. And I apologize if there are any mistake during guiding this webinar. That's enough for me. I will return it to the MC. Thank you.
They bring the right people in terms of customers, partners that could help you bring a product to market faster.
They introduced us to a company that's probably going to work with us to build a very large production facility.
Hope they won't shoot me down soon.
Having the opportunity to work alongside some of the smartest people in science and technology and engineering, yeah, it's been an honor.
Hedge is an aquaculture startup accelerator that works with aquaculture startups along the whole value chain of aquaculture. We mentor the companies, we personally work with the companies, we're all aquaculture investors. So by the time of the end of the program, they really know their product market fit, they really know their route to market, they have created or have leveraged our networks and actually speak to customers or even start selling.
Well, if you wanna get to heaven, you gotta raise a little hell, and I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. They say no to sleepless night.
Aquaculture is the fastest growing food producing business in the world. And in the next 50 years, we are going to have to grow more seafood than we've grown in the existence of mankind.
The companies here have technologies that are going to transform aquaculture.
We've had some incredible adventures as part of Hatch. Definitely the best part has been visiting farms, getting to talk to farmers, finding out what their challenges are, and seeing how we can help.
They know the key players in the system, and they know the key players in the system who are willing to provide advice.
We've been in other accelerators before, and Hatch is the only accelerator that met us like where we needed help.
Great. Thank you so much for our speakers today. Thank you to Mr. Francisco Lenzi and Mr. Haris Muhammad for your inspiring talk, and also Gusti to make this discussion more interactive and intense. So, let us give them a warm round of applause. Or you can send them any emoticon reaction like applause or thumbs up. We would like to remind you that after the documentation session, we will announcing our 3 best participants of our today's webinars. Well, ladies and gentlemen, to capture this moment, I would like to invite you to open your camera and give your best pose. I'm going to count down if you're all ready to take the picture. So, let's get started. I'm going to count down. 3, 2, 1. And next. 3, 2, 1. And the last. 3, 2, 1. Alright, thank you so much. And now, let me announce you our 3 best participants today. The first best participant is going to be Giovanni. The second best participant is Fariana Banyu. And the third best participant is Faisal Siahaan. Congratulations to our best participants today. And once again, I would like to extend my thanks to all amazing participants today. I hope you all achieve what you came here to achieve. I wish you all a pleasant day. And also, once again, we would like to say thank you to our sponsors who have been support these webinars. Thank you to Inve, Hikari, Hatch, and Bantex. And also, we would like to say thank you to our media partner collaboration. Thank you to KKP, Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries Republic of Indonesia, Humas IPB, Aquaculture Magazine, Aquaculture Tribe, Info Aquacultur, Trobos Aqua, Jagatani, Agrina, and Nakama Aquatic. And now, let me inform you that we have a talk show about ornamental fish on September 5, 2021. And also, we have another amazing activities after. Last but not least, we look forward to see all of you again at the next activities of Aquaculture Festival 2021. Thank you, see you, and have a nice day.
Sebagai upaya mencapai lumbung pangan dunia pada tahun 2045, aquaculture menjadi ujung tombak penyedia protein hewani di masa yang akan datang dengan tujuan memenuhi kebutuhan pangan, memperbaiki stok alam, konservasi dan pariwisata, produksi bahan industri, hingga menghasilkan profit.
Tidak hanya itu, jangkauan pekerjaan yang cukup luas mulai dari akademisi, teknisi, hingga peneliti membuktikan bahwa dunia aquaculture memang memiliki potensi dan peluang yang sangat besar, sehingga mampu membawa aquaculture sebagai salah satu sektor yang sangat menjanjikan.
Sejalan dengan hal tersebut, Himakwa FPK IPB menginisiasikan kegiatan Aquafest 2021 melalui rangkaian kegiatan dengan tujuan memperkenalkan lebih dalam lagi mengenai dunia aquaculture dengan berbasis teknologi yang dikemas secara kreatif, inovatif, dan solutif.
Mulai dari webinar pakan alami, webinar udang, talk show ekspor ikan hias, talk show bisnis ikan konsumsi, aquaculture student conference, no fishing competition, workshop marinescape, guppy contest, channel video contest, hoki foto contest, podcast series, dan virtual expo.
Mari kita bersama majukan dunia aquaculture mulai dari halaman sendiri, Indonesia, hingga mancanegara bersama Aquafest 2021. In aquaculture, we trust.